I only buy the finest tea leaves, sister. See, POPF.
POPF is indicated on the pack.
Sister, the art of tea.
A very good evening and welcome to Primetime News. Nawaz Sharif has been sworn in as Prime Minister of Pakistan following an election that marked the first transition of power between civilian governments in a country that for half its history has been ruled by its military. The News First International Desk has been closely following the aftermath of the Pakistan elections and will have a comprehensive report later on in the news. But first, a look at the headlines. Chairman of the Mavanala Pradesh Sabha sentenced to death. Parents of the students who had lost admission to national schools protest opposite the Ministry of Education. Law student receiving treatment for dengue dies. A national ceremony to mark World Environment Day presided by the President. And now the stories in detail. Deputy Speaker Chandima Veerakkadi announced in Parliament today that the Supreme Court has ruled that the Special Provisions Bill on voter registration is consistent with the Constitution.
I wish to make the following announcement with regard to the Special Provisions Bill on the registration of voters. I wish to know that the Supreme Court has decided that as per Article 123 of the Constitution, the proposed bill and its provisions does not contravene with the Constitution.
123 වන විවස්ථාව ප්‍රකාරව ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණය තීන්දුව කොට ඇති බව දන්වනු කැමැත්තෙමි.
United People's Freedom Alliance parliamentarian Arundika Fernando said in Parliament that information has come to light that missing journalist Pradeep Eknaligoda is residing in France.
Journalists who you all claim to have disappeared are living in France. I too met several of them. A famous journalist whom you all always talk about is residing in France. He is living there in disguise. He had assistance from embassies and left the country with their help. However, cases are being heard in courts in Sri Lanka stating that these people have disappeared. There are instances in which wives of these individuals appear before the media and cry. However, their husbands are in contact with their wives. This is simply because they are living in France.
ජනමාධ්‍යවල අඬනවා සමහර ක්‍රමේ තමන්ගේ මහත්තයා නැහැ කියලා දැන් මහත්තයා ෆොරෙන් රට කතා කරනවා මහත්තයා ඉන්නේ ප්‍රංශේ නංග ප්‍රදීප් එක්නලිගොඩ
Pradeep Eknaligoda is in France. I am not saying this because I am under my parliamentary privileges. If you ask those living in France, they would know.
No.
Orders under the Sri Lanka Press Council law were passed in Parliament today. While a vote was not called for on amendments to the Section 30 of the Sri Lanka Press Council law, the chair asked that a note be made of the objections raised by the opposition. The editorial of the Island newspaper today paid special attention towards reports that the government is attempting to put forward a code of media ethics to Parliament. The editorial reads, quote, "The government has evinced a keen interest in media ethics. It is apparently in a mighty hurry to introduce a code of ethics for journalists in keeping with its laptop and stick approach to control the so-called fourth estate," unquote.
The editorial of the Island newspaper today also questioned if the government has chosen to use a stick in the form of ethics in dealing with the media because its method of distributing laptops has failed to yield the desired results. The editorial also questioned the role politicians have to play with media ethics. The editorial reads, quote, "The hands of some SLFP, UNP and JVP politicians are dripping with journalists' blood," unquote.
There is no democracy in the world in which the government legislates on media ethics. If there has to be some charter, some regulatory framework with regard to media ethics, it must come from within the media itself, from within the profession, from within the industry.
The editorial of the Island newspaper also notes that dozens of journalists have died violent deaths at the hands of politicians during the last few decades. The editor says there is no difference in our book between politicians extolling the virtues of ethics and prostitutes pontificating on chastity.
සදාචාරය නිර්වචනය කරන්න කොහොමද? ඔවා කියන්නේ ඒ තමයි එක එක්කෙනාට අර්ථකථනය කරන්න.
How to define ethics? It can be interpreted differently by different people. If we look at history, the experiences of vesting the power of deciding on ethics with any authority have not been good. We can say that this will create a situation where limitations are imposed on the media.
The editor also highlights the alarming rate at which parliamentary standards are deteriorating. He notes that slanging matches and fisticuffs pass for debates in parliament today. The Island editorial asserts a strong point by saying, local council members are busy sexually assaulting women and roughing up the guardians of the law. It adds, the worst culprits are the UPFA politicians who have risen above the law by virtue of being at the beck and call of their political masters.
More fundamentally, what is the ethical right that the government, any government, has to legislate on media ethics? Who then will legislate on the ethics of the government? We know that there are politicians who have been taken in for questioning on murders. I know no Sri Lankan journalist who has been charged with murder. But how then can a ruling coalition legislate on ethics for the media? What is the basis of this?
The editor further notes that if the government is so keen to set ethical standards for journalists by decree, the UPFA pundits should make the state media adopt their code of ethics first. Today's editorial concludes with this. Before laying down ethical guidelines for the media, the government ought to bring to justice those who have assaulted and killed journalists and carried out arson attacks on newspaper offices and TV stations.
Now, the Sri Lankan media must inform the Commonwealth Press Union, the Commonwealth Press Institute, and every media association and professional body in every country of the Commonwealth about what is going to happen to the media in Sri Lanka. Now, Thomas Jefferson was often criticized by the press of his time. But President Jefferson said that if he had to make a choice between the government on the one hand and the media, the press, on the other, he would always opt for free press. Now he said that because he knew that press freedom is far more fundamental to a healthy democratic society than a government. The governments come and go. But press freedom is fundamental.
Now, as we mentioned in breaking news a few minutes ago, speaking in Parliament this evening, Media Minister Keheliya Ramukwella made the following statement. Honourable Deputy Speaker, this is a license given to the Sirasa Media Network. This is a type of license issued in 1992. This is the manner in which political parties that were in power have acted. This makes reference to temporary licenses. The Media Ministry can revoke these licenses at any time. This is the license that gives the authority to the public to provide news. This should be rectified from the viewer's perspective, the citizen's perspective, and the journalist's perspective. Therefore, where do we stand? We should be at a centre point.
මේ ක්‍රමවේදයම තමයි මෙතෙක් වෙලා ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. මේ හැම එකම ගහලා තියෙනවා తాවකාලික ලයිසන් එකක් කියලා. මේක මාධ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශයට ඕන වෙලාවක තහනම් කරන්න පුළුවන්. මේක තමයි මේ ලයිසන් කෑල්ල ඔය දීලා තියෙන්නේ. මේ රටක මාධ්‍යයක් හසුරවන්න රටක ජනතාව සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම තොරතුරු ලබා දෙන ආයතනයකට දෙන ලයිසන් පත්‍රයයි මේ. මේක තමයි ක්‍රමවේදය තිබිලා තියෙන්නේ. මේක නිවැරදි කළ යුතුයි. දෙපැත්තටම නිවැරදි විය යුතුයි. ප්‍රේක්ෂකයාගේ පැත්තෙන් නිවැරදි විය යුතුයි. පුරවැසියාගේ පැත්තෙන් නිවැරදි විය යුතුයි. මාධ්‍ය කරුවගේ පැත්තෙන් නිවැරදි විය යුතුයි. එබැවින් කොතනද අපි සිටගත යුත්තේ? කොතනද ඉන්නට ඕනේ? එබැවින් මධ්‍යස්ථ තැනකට එන්නට ඕනේ.
The MTV MBC media network, which includes Sirasa TV, has been in operation for the past 21 years. During this time, we have built on the unassailable trust amongst the public as an independent media. Any judgment on our network can be passed only by the public and nobody else.
In other local news, Minister Vimal Veeravansa says that the President expects to seek the advice of the judiciary with regard to the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. He said that leaders of the United People's Freedom Alliance met with the President yesterday and discussed the 13th Amendment to the Constitution.
ඒ සාකච්ඡාවේදී මූලික තීරණ දෙකක් ප්‍රකාශයට පත් වුණා. එකක් තමයි දැනට 13 වෙනි ව්‍යවස්ථා සංශෝධනයේ
Two decisions were taken during this meeting. One was to amend some of the powers of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution which are harmful to unity. The other was to immediately convene a parliamentary select committee on establishing a new constitution with or without the participation of the TNA. During the meeting, we inquired into what decision has been taken regarding police and land powers. I submitted this question. At this instance, Minister G.L. Pevis clarified that via the 17th and 18th Amendments, these powers are not being exercised as yet. He noted that they have been invalidated. At this meeting, another view was expressed that although the nature of the National Police Commission had been changed via the 17th and 18th Amendments, there is no vote of this in the provincial commissions. There has been no amendment. Thereby, the President noted that since there are already many views being expressed about this, some are saying that it has already been amended, while others say no. The necessary steps must be taken after judicial inquiry. So he said the necessary steps would be taken in accordance with the determination of the Supreme Court. We have received an important result here, and that is that this will be amended. Prior to this, the rulers of the country were afraid to even say that they are going to do it.
ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයේ දෙන අදහසට අනුව තමයි අවශ්‍ය පියවර ගන්නවයි කියලා කිව්වේ. ඊටාම වැදගත් ප්‍රතිඵලයක් ලැබිලා තිබෙනවා. ඒ තමයි එක සංශෝධනය කරනවා කියන එක. දැන් කලින් ඕක කරනවා කියලා කියන්නත් මේ රටේ පාලකයෝ හරි බයයි.
The Federation of University Teachers Association says that the procedure followed by the government in suppressing the demonstration by students of the Sabaragama University is the same procedure followed in the north. FUTA President Dr. Nirmal Ranjit Devasri expressed these views at a media briefing convened today.
We can pulang conquer and occupy. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒක ඉස්සෙල්ලා මේ ඒක යටත් කරගන්නවා. ඊට පස්සේ එතන
Conquer and occupy. They conquer an area, then occupy it. Various persons, including Mr. Samaranayaka, have labelled universities as uncleared areas and said that they are in the process of clearing these areas. After they have cleared it, they appoint persons of their choosing, persons who are politically loyal to them as vice-chancellors and to the administration. This is what is happening today. We think it is a very serious situation.
සිදුවෙමින් පවතින්නේ. ඉතින් මේක අපි හිතනවා මේක බරපතල තත්ත්වයක් කියලා.
The conduct of the police at a recent demonstration organized by students of the Sabaragama University was severely criticized by the Federation of University Teachers Associations.
සබරගමු විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ ශිෂුන්ගේ උද්ඝෝෂණවලදී policy has.
There is a clear difference in the conduct of the police during the Sabaragama University students' demonstration. In this case, we could clearly see that the government and these authorities respond in two ways when it comes to actions that are opposed to them.
බලධාරීන් පොලිසිය දෙආකාරයකට තමයි කටයුතු කරන්න කියන එක.
The Janata Vimukti Peramuna staged demonstrations in several areas today to protest the electricity tariff hike.
This demonstration, organized by the JVP, was held in Nugegoda today. The JVP also staged a demonstration against the electricity tariff hike near the Gampaha railway station. The JVP also organized a demonstration against the electricity tariff hike in the Angunukola Palasa town today. News First U reporter Vada Singha Gamage Chandrasena sent us this footage of the demonstration.